What's up, lore masters? So before we get into this, let's take a moment and take a breath and know that while this topic may be highly charged, we're discussing a work of fiction and we should be able to talk about it with a modicum of civility. There's no need to go over the top and let's stay rational. With that out of the way, let's just get into it. Janeway is a straight-up cold-blooded murderer. Okay, cheap shot. Before we continue, there are some ideals we will have to agree on. If you don't agree with these presumptions, then we're not really going to be able to move forward, and you can let me know why you don't agree with them, but I do think this is fair. First, we agree that Tuvix is an actual person, an individual. Tuvix is quintessentially the new life that Picard was talking about, no different from Data in my mind. The Doctor tells us that he is a different person. Captain Janeway tells us he is a different person. The exposition tells us that he is a different person. And the crew all agree by considering him a completely different individual and befriending him separately from everyone else. Secondly, we agree that in order to save Tuvok and Neelix, we must kill Tuvix. That this act of killing him is necessary. The argument is that is his death justified? Third, for whatever reason, we cannot find another way to both save Tuvok and Neelix and not kill Tuvix. I.e., we can't do to Tuvix what we did to Riker, we can't duplicate him or use some other tech magic to stop it. This is something you're welcome to talk about in the comments, ways we could have saved him, but for the purposes of this discussion, we'll just agree that these options were not available. And lastly, Janeway is a person that had a lot of turmoil in this, that we don't doubt that she agonized and that she was human in the decision. This is not the evil Janeway we see with SF Debris. With that in mind, let's go over what occurred and just bust through the arguments. Due to a transporter accident, Tuvok and Neelix merge into Tuvix. We know that as time progresses, at least over 2 weeks, Tuvix is realized to be an actual individual, a person, something different and unique. He would become friends with the crew, and the friendships he had were dynamic. They were different than what he had before. The dynamics that grew between him and the crew would not be those of Tuvok, would not be those of Neelix. Again, it was different. The friendships were different. When it comes to the arguments, the first, and I'll be honest, most weak justification is that the crew would need their security officer and their cook. However, Tuvix is written as a straight-up Gary Stu in this instance. He is not only able to do both jobs, but he does them better. Janeway admits this herself, basically saying that you have a super Neelix and a super Tuvok, the best of both, and apparently the worst of both as well when it comes to their mannerisms. The ship is run expertly with him creating better tasting food and doing security better than Tuvok ever could. There's really not a lot to argue here when the ship is better off. In fact, I would say having Tuvix there was probably better than having Tuvok and Neelix. Arguably as well, you would not have the issues with Tuvok and the disease that he would come to have, nor would you have the issues with the uncompensated lung that Neelix had. So the fact that these two beings would have issues in the future that could have been fixed through Tuvix is another argument for why Tuvix should exist. The next that needs to be considered is that of the actual lives of Tuvok and Neelix. Now this isn't an invalid argument, but let's turn this around. Let's say that Tuvix, Tuvok, and Neelix were 3 distinct individuals, and that they were on a planet and being shot at or were about to crash or something of that nature. And both Tuvok and Neelix saw that Tuvix was about to die. And again, Tuvok and Neelix had the chance to sacrifice themselves to save Tuvix. Do you think they would have done this? Let me give you what Janeway said they would do. Copyright edit. What she says is that both Neelix and Tuvok would give their lives for someone else. The counter to this is that Tuvok and Neelix didn't have the choice to sacrifice themselves, but let me ask you this. Do you think they would be okay if their deaths meant that the survival of Tuvix happened? Even if they didn't have a choice? I do. Now, some have argued that the captain doesn't have the jurisdiction, that this is even argued by Tuvix himself. I would say that this moves into a bit of gray for me. The captain chooses who lives and who dies all the time. What way should Voyager go? Does Voyager stay and fight an enemy, or do they run? Do they save one crewman, or let him go to not endanger the rest of the ship? These decisions decide if people live or die all the time. In fact, if she had the choice to choose during the transport to save Tuvix or Tuvok and Neelix, it's the same quandary. So this is just like every other encounter. I really don't think it's any different. That said, I think she made a bad decision as a captain. It's definitely her decision to make. Again, she's trying to save lives. But I don't think that it was the right one. You know, when I started researching this video, I was hoping that I could be more nuanced, but really the dilemma seems straightforward to me. There is no great justification for the murder of Tuvix that I can find. Everything you could say, every reason that Tuvok and Neelix needed to live but Tuvix had to die, can be reasonably countered. And I'll be honest, the way that they look at Tuvix from beginning to end really does annoy me when you consider Tuvix himself. In the episode, Janeway asks Chakotay, when did this transporter accident become a person? The fact is, this transporter accident was always a person. Always. Now, if after this video I find more nuance and argumentation, I'll be happy to do an update or maybe do a part 2, but for now, this is where I land. I do consider this to be one of the most horrific acts that Janeway has ever done. I use the term cold-blooded murderer, and I think that it's apt here. Janeway was emotionally compromised, and I'm going to show that towards the end of the video. Now maybe you can find a reason for this to be justified. And if it is, well, it is what it is. I have always been a believer that sometimes you have to do things that are considered wrong to get the right result. But I don't think killing Tuvix was what Tuvok nor Neelix wanted. And I don't think it was what was best for the ship, I don't think it was what was best for the crew, and I do think that Janeway was emotionally compromised when she did it, as I had said. I'm going to end this with a video of her being emotionally compromised and then Tuvix pleading for his life. Because, you know, why not give CBS all the money of my hard work, right? And then I'll leave it to you to give your thoughts in the comments. Guys, I want to thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next Lore Reloaded.